Welcome to the BWI Daily Edition. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr. You can call me T. Frank. On the BWI Daily, we're going to be looking at stories and topics from the day that matter to Penn State sports and to you. You're going to be hearing from some of your favorite blue-white illustrated personalities, and we'll give you up-to-date information on what's going on in Penn State sports. Of course, what's most important at this time of year for Penn State football is recruiting. A slight sigh of relief, although some bad luck yesterday for Lonnie White Jr. The four-star receiver for the class of 2021 was not selected in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft last night. This is a big milestone for Penn State football, trying to hold on to Lonnie White Jr., who was seen as a potential first-round pick, although he could still go early in the second round and ink a multi-million-dollar deal with a Major League Baseball franchise, making his decision of whether to play football at Penn State much more difficult. If you want to get a full rundown of what that decision looks like and the potential landing spots for Lonnie White Jr., Greg Pickle has a great write-up from yesterday before the first round at bwi.rivals.com. Check that out, and of course, we'll keep you up to date. Nate Bauer, Ryan Snyder, Dave Eckert, and Greg Pickle all on social media will be following that story and giving you the up-to-date information on where and to whom and for how much Lonnie White Jr. signs for if he does get drafted tonight, 7 o'clock in the Major League Baseball draft for round 2. Heading on to the class of 2022, more information from last weekend and late last week. Penn State got a little more good news for the class of 2022. Drew Shelton, their top tackle prospect in this class, not only did he put his 107% locked-in commitment shut down his recruiting, he also made the announcement that he's not returning to IMG Academy in Florida for the fall. Instead, Shelton is going to go back to his home school of Downingtown West in Pennsylvania and play his senior season there. Shelton, of course, is a top tackle prospect in the class and has been recruited by Florida schools heavily since he went down to IMG Academy. And while everything can turn on a dime, it is good news and it is a very good sign that Shelton is staying close to home for his senior season. Penn State, to me, as a recruiting analyst, he is a must-get for the class of 2022. I understand that there are bigger names. There are more important prospects from a star ranking and all of those things. But the reality is Penn State does not have another left tackle prospect on the roster with a lot of scholarship opportunity left. Rasheed Walker was the last top tackle prospect at the left tackle position that Penn State has recruited in the last couple years, where they missed on some of the players that they were going after, including and most notably 5-star tackle from Pennsylvania in Nolan Rucci. So Shelton shutting down his commitment, staying in Pennsylvania, that is a good and a critical piece of news for the class of 2022. Penn State looking for the left tackle of the future. Shelton, while maybe not immediately, does have the physical skills to man that position going forward. Speaking of going forward, the class of 2022 had a big run last week, 5 commitments in 6 days, including one of those big names that we just alluded to in 4-star running back Nick Singleton out of Reading. Singleton may be joined in the backfield this Friday by 4-star running back from the previously mentioned IMG Academy in Kaytron Allen. The 5'11", 220-pound tailback is a bruising physical presence in the backfield, and he may join as another power back from IMG Academy, who will join Singleton as one of the most violent duos in the backfield that Penn State has added in recent memory. If you want to see a full breakdown, by the way, of what Nick Singleton brings to Penn State with his commitment, you can check out our YouTube page, Blue White Illustrated on YouTube, where I did a full breakdown of his game, what he brings to the table, and some areas he might be able to improve before he gets to Penn State as a top running back prospect. And if Allen does commit this Friday, expect more breakdown on what his game is on our YouTube page. Thomas Frank Carr, your recruiting analyst for Blue White Illustrated, will also have some information on Jordan Allen, who is a 3-star prospect out of Louisiana, who's also expected to make his commitment known this Friday as well. Now, he is at a critical position for Penn State sports, Penn State football, because there are a limited number of positions left in the 2022 recruiting class. After that recruiting spree last week, there are only 7 commitment slots open in the class of 2022. Greg Pickle wrote today at bwi.rivals.com a great breakdown of what Penn State might hope for at their final 7 positions and who might be committing and what the ideal positions might be. So check out what Penn State football has in store this summer in recruiting with Greg Pickle, bwi.rivals.com. And one final note, and it usually is a note, and we get some news and information out of it, but it is quietly a milestone in our return to normal. The Big Ten Media Days, which will be coming up July 22nd and 23rd, are going to be the first mass in-person media event since the coronavirus pandemic shut down sports on the college landscape back in March of 2020. Penn State has not had in-person, face-to-face meeting with coaches or players since the final max test day of lifting in March of 2020. So quietly, a return to normal as media members are being invited to Indianapolis for the annual event. That does it for the BWI Daily. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. Check out YouTube, Blue White Illustrated on YouTube to follow along because we've expanded our coverage for the fall. I've joined the team at Blue White Illustrated to bring you more content like this, the BWI Daily, my film analysis of Penn State recruits, and we're going to be starting a recruiting podcast, plus much more on that front. So subscribe to YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, hit the notification button, and don't miss any content from Blue White Illustrated. Greg Pickle has already hit the ground running. He's a great reporter, recruiting analyst, and more for Blue White Illustrated. Ryan Snyder, Nate Bauer, they've been doing it for a while here at Blue White Illustrated. And of course, Dave Eckert following along with all Penn State sports, not just football. He's been doing a great job keeping you up to date on Penn State basketball recruiting, wrestling, and more. So for full coverage of Penn State sports this fall, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get your YouTube videos, YouTube. And of course, go to bwi.rivals.com, subscribe today, and don't miss a beat of Penn State sports.